me. I am powerful.
I am powerful.
Louder. I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I am powerful.
Garrett, tell the world about yourself.
Hello, my name is Garret Garland, and I am here with the good doctor himself to talk about my book, To Never See Heaven. I also just released my audiobook. It just came out like last week. So that's also a new exciting development. When the last time we discussed a meeting, it wasn't complete. So my audiobook is finally out on Audible and Apple and Google Play and Spotify and all. I never even knew what Chirp was, but Chirp is also another place you can get it. Anything that you listen to audiobooks, it's available everywhere. So yeah, it's been very exciting. Just sort of, I started writing it. I write by hand. I'm kind of an old lady. I have a rotary phone and a typewriter, and I write by hand, and my dear husband translated the whole thing. And then I started writing in 2014, completed it in 2020, which was the excellent time to try hawking a book. Not really. No one had the foresight of certain events that would transpire during that year between the super hornets and the pandemic. But eventually it got picked up, and I'm just happy that I am able to physically hold it, and that, you know, if I ever do go and like talk to people or young people even, it's just nice to get their perspectives, feedback, and yeah, it's been a wonderful journey so far.
Well, first I want to say congratulations for the book, for finishing the audio book. I know how hard it is, so the fact that you committed and got it done.
Yeah, and I do all the voices for the characters, so I didn't hire somebody. I did it all myself. So
nice.
It was 11 hours, I think, is the 11 hours and some change, I think, is the total. It is more of this is just the synopsis, but it starts with a sort of a retrospective. This aging associate professor has to give this commencement address because his husband, who's a chancellor, is dying. And so they ask him, can you do it because your husband's unable? So I don't know if you've ever watched anybody slowly pass away, but on a good day when he's cohesive, he asks him, do you remember when we met? Do you remember Paris? He goes, yes, of course I do. And then it goes back to when he runs away from boarding school, runs away to Paris, does this sort of self-exploration journey. I mean, it's also a coming of age story where there's a lot of experimental drug usage and overcoming childhood trauma and loving yourself before you can love somebody else. But I think love is a great healer. So, I mean, everyone gets a happy ending in the end, but that's essentially
I love it.
synopsis.
I love it. The title intrigued me a lot. To Never See Heaven. Can you tell me something about that?
So To Never See Heaven, it's almost like to never see heaven ... It's like a question. To never see heaven would be what? Every person in the mind, we have our own version of heaven. And for him, I think to never see heaven would mean to never have met this other person who essentially, I think, saves him. So I think everyone has their own version of heaven. So to never see heaven, and then for whatever it means to you, I think, is more essentially, it's more of like a question in a way. I actually changed the title 3 times. Initially, it was something in Latin, and I don't think anyone was getting it. And then it was something like "Should birds perish?" And then I had written down 50 things and crossed out different ones, and then. Of course you ask your mom, your dog, anybody who, which one, scratch the one you like. And so everyone kind of landed around well, this one. And so that's another thing. I think Stephen King in his book on writing, he has a chapter called Don't Be Afraid to Kill Your Darlings, which means even if you're really attached to something, it may not be what's marketable. I mean, you think of one of the most Pulitzer Prize best-selling books of all time, Gone with the Wind. She wanted to call it Tomorrow is Another Day, which she repeats throughout the book. Like, I won't think about it today, I'll think about it tomorrow. And it's the last line, tomorrow is another day, would have been perfectly adorable. But somebody went, wait, that, name it that.
That
And
one,
of
that
course,
one.
now we know, now it's one of the best selling books of all time. So, yeah, I mean, I changed the title multiple times. I didn't even have it open with a retrospective in the beginning. It would have ended where you sort of find out the circumstances, but I actually started it from the end. That was the first chapter, was the last chapter written, actually. So you have to be flexible as a writer.
I really like the title a lot. Like, that's the first question I had. Like, what do you mean? Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a great question. So I see that you love stories, right? You mentioned a few. What is it about these stories that resonate with you so much? Even in yours, in the story. By the way, is this a true story, or this is a story?
No, it is. It is not autobiography.
Okay.
Although they do say, "Write what you know," which I think is important to do that.
Yeah.
However, I mean, J.R. Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings, and some of the battle scenes were inspired about his time he spent in trench warfare. But obviously, he didn't live a life as an elf, and even the languages he created are based on his Welsh upbringing. So
Yeah.
writing what you know doesn't necessarily mean write who you are, but write what you know about. I thought I was going to go into academia, and I did study and live in Paris for like a year and study French for 6 years. And I wanted to, made a great investiture in French intellectual history, and then decided I was sort of disenfranchised by these sort of grumpy old underpaid men that I was working under. And I decided academia wasn't for me, and I would just write about what I had learned instead. So, yes, obviously the idea of a youth going abroad is under that umbrella, but I really want to explore the idea of childhood trauma and how, even if you tuck it away in the corner of your mind, it comes up in different ways that you don't necessarily realize until now it's like almost like consumed by you. And I know people like to use the word triggered a lot. However, triggered isn't necessarily, like, oh, if something violent happens to you and you're watching like Law and Order, now you're triggered. Like, triggered is like if you're brushing your teeth and then suddenly it like comes like viscerally back into your mind. And so it's like how to like reconcile what happens to you as a youth to then come out to the other side so you can see heaven or see like there's a point where he goes like, looking into the man of his dreams is like looking into the eyes of God. Sort of just like making, what does he say? Voltaire and Candide, he says like making your garden grow. Like, we'll build our house, we'll chop our wood, we'll make our garden grow. You cultivate your own heaven around you to sort of like encapsulate what is good and then leave everything else like behind, which is obviously easier said than done. I mean, easier, it takes years to work at it, but that's what I wanted to explore.
There's something that I am definitely noticing about you. You're very passionate. Is it in everything you do? Like, as you speak, I can see you picturing what you're saying.
That could be a positive and a negative. I mean, my husband, he should take medication to deal with me. No, I'm kidding. Oh, yeah. That is, yes, I am. I mean, my mind works in a lot of, I'll go off on tangents and like find ways to loop it back. And I think it was even my mother. She's like, just when you think the chapter was getting too long, she's like, you would just cut it in a way that it would then, you're like, well, God, now I have to go to the next page. So, but I really care about the interworkings like of a character and really exploring not just like what's going on around, but like all the mental processes behind it. And then like, even if it's he thought, and then like a page of why, and then the next sentence. So even though it's only the span of 30 seconds, there's so much behind what happens between like one thought to the next, whether it means like a look of like rejection or like I don't know, taking the cigarette and then like blowing it up his nose and like blowing it back in like the other person's face. Like there's so much like behind that, like why he did that. You know what I mean?
You
Like
see what I
in the book,
mean? In everything you
what
say, you describe a picture. I think it's really cool the way you do it. I don't know. It's a lot of passion.
yeah, like in the book he has like 5 different ways of smoking, like where he like inhales and then like bites it off at the inhale, and then there's like the up the nose and then like blow it out, and then there's like when he's pissed off he like just blows it through his nostrils like a dragon. I mean there's like so many different reasons, like you know each one is like a signifier of like how he's feeling based on like the taking of the cigarette. I also wanted to set it in a timeless space because, for example, like there's never a reference. No one sends a text or an email in the book. Like people like answer the phone and drive in their car. I make like
of the time.
certain, but I make no, but I make references to certain references. You know, it could be between like 1890 cap at 1970, but you never know where it is. I don't reference like, oh, then they said a fax. Like that never happened. So I made it technologically as free as possible, but within the confines of like, well, yes, cars exist. You know, no one's in a horse and buggy, but cars exist, phones exist, but no one's like sending in text or like tweeting or anything like that, because I want to make it as able to talk about anything as much as I wanted to without like keeping it, you know, fixed in a specific time period. Because if I want to talk about like Friedrich Nietzsche, but I said in 1852, well, I couldn't do that then. Philosophers and, you know, talk about the things I wanted to talk about without being confined to a specific time period.
Got it. How long did you have this story within your soul before you sat down and started putting it out?
I don't know if I had the whole story. I know I wanted to talk about boy runs away from his sort of preppy private prep school upbringing away to France to find himself. I knew I was going to do that. So I started that in 2014 after I lived in Paris from 2013 to 2014, came back in 2014 and then had the idea for the book. I didn't finish it. Like I said, it took 7 years and 12 journals. And then it probably took him a year to transcribe it all, and then a year or at least 6 months to a year to like try to. I mean, I emailed anyone who would had an email address. I sent it out to every publisher agent, and then even once it gets picked up, it takes about 6 months. I feel like it was longer. It was like close to a year for it to finally come out. So, yes, I've been living with Anthony Schrader for like over a decade. So I'm glad he's out. I mean, I'm finished and I'm currently editing my second book. So, and that one I wrote during the pandemic because I was afraid while I was trying to get the other one published, I would lose my mojo. Like I thought if I stopped, because I'd worked on this one thing for so long that I thought if I stopped writing creatively, I would lose my mojo. So I wrote this like short novella during the pandemic while this was trying to sell it, and then eventually finally having it being picked up. But then while that time you're doing edits, you're not doing anything creatively. So I was always working on that. So yeah, I lived with this person. See, I would tell anybody, if you really want to be a writer, I would have rather been a dancer or a singer or something. Because at least if you go into a room, they say, you're too fat, you suck, you have no voice, your legs are both. I mean, you get feedback immediately if you're not, and I don't think necessarily you should give up because of that, but at least you know right away what people are feeling about you at the time. With a book, you know, you can spend 10 years on it and you get these, sometimes people write personal letters, but sometimes you just get stationary. They're like, sorry, we're not accepting this at this time. Like no one tells you. You don't get to go in a room and sell yourself. You never get to know like, oh, why do you suck or why are you not picking this up? So that's the part about killing your darlings, because I also was changing the book during the time that I was telling it. The first chapter was only like a paragraph, but it wasn't enough for you to be invested in this relationship. So I expanded it to 8 or 10 pages. So during that time, you have to be for anyone who wants to be a writer, like I said, actor, singer, dancer, I mean, at least you get to go and audition and they see you and you get feedback initially, and you get to hear yourself back to yourself. Writing, you have to have a certain amount of conviction, and because everyone has a first 5 pages of a novel somewhere in a desk drawer, and they never get up. So you have to not only finish it. I mean, if you spend like 5 years in music school, you can sing. That's it. There's your talent. It's there. A book you develop over time, and you can't really sell or do anything with it until it's complete. And then when it's complete, you don't really know why people aren't picking it up. So you have to be able to be self-reflective. And also, I ask, people's opinion, like, what do you think of this? Thank God most of my friends are like, they're all gorgeous and they're also mostly intellectual. So, I would ask them, what do you think of this? I mean, even my friend, Hilary Cravella, she actually painted the cover. This was done on oil canvas. So when you open it up, it's 2 oil canvases that are pushed together.
You just said a really, really good, it's nothing I would have thought of, but it's a lesson. So you're saying in this situation, rejection is better than not knowing.
Yeah, because there has to be a reason why no one's picking it up. You have to be able to realize, like, almost like, okay, what are they not getting? I mean, and writing, I mean, even like, for example, if you're a singer, you go in an audition. I mean, you only get a minute, right? So title and your first 5 pages have to be tight. I mean, like really clean, and you have to be invested from title to basically the first line of page. Because you have to think these people get so many. I mean, there's a higher percentage of people who get in the NFL than there are people who publish.
Didn't know
like
that.
It's like 3% of the U.S. population has a chance of getting the NFL. Less than 1% have a chance of publishing a book.
Look at that.
I think first has to complete. Yeah, and so the first has to, not that like I'm exception. No, but even if I sold 5 copies, oh my God, but at least you finished it. Oh, at least it's done. I mean, most people never finish. That's number one. And number two, it's everyone thinks that what they have to say is the best thing, but you have to listen to other voices too. Like I said, I changed the title like 2 or 3 times.
Have you always been a writer? Is that something you've always done?
Yeah, since in the 7th grade, I wrote a short story about a girl who follows her father to the Battle of Concord after Paul Revere sounds the alarm in Boston. I think it was called My Midnight Ride or something. And it won an award, and I got to read it out loud in the 7th grade. And then everyone just told me, like, well, you write like you're like, I've always been 4 years old going on 40 years old. Like I in my heart am an old lady. So the biggest compliment I got, they're like, well, the way you write and the style of it, it's like lofty and almost like old fashioned, but it's like accessible at the same time. But everyone just said you were writing older than your age. You know what I mean? Just with like I mean, I have some sentences that go on for like a page. But I mean, it's broken up. You can follow it, but it's just like that whole stream of consciousness, intellectual. I call it intellectual promiscuity. Sort of, sort of like.
Love your style. I really like your style. I like your vocabulary, and I love the way.
Yeah.
So let me ask. Do you consider yourself more a writer or author or an artist?
Oh, well, it took me so long to finally be able to say I'm an author. That I would like to say I'm an author because it took me so long to say that. Because so many times you're working in other shit jobs you don't even want to do. while you are handwriting the real thing you want to do right before you have to start your shift at whatever you're doing at the time. So I like to say I'm an author. Obviously, it's part of the arts. I think some writing is like, oh, it's Twilight art. I don't know.
That's a good question.
You know what I mean? I think some
Yeah.
books rise to the level of artistry. I don't think all people are authors. I think certain authors are artists. I don't think all artists are authors.
I love that's what
Or people who think they aren't necessarily. It's like, oh, you're lucky you're an author. I don't think you're an artist. That's what I think.
And how did you get through, if somebody's listening, like, how did you get through those times that you're talking about when you're working these shifts at these stuff?
I'm stubborn as hell. Hatred. Yeah. Oh, hatred is a great incentive. Yeah. Also, yeah. It went every time I would be fired, I'm like, well, clearly I meant to write. I've been fired. I've sold mattresses, eyeglasses, Starbucks coffee. I mean, name a job, I probably have done it. So every time I was fired, I was like, thank you very much. I'm going to continue writing. Because clearly I always thought it was like God pushing me in the right direction. It was like, and then certain people, even like, sometimes our parents can be the most critical people in our lives. And I remember even like my mother was like, greatest compliment I ever got was, she's like, you're not allowed to do anything else. Like after she read the book, she's like, you're not allowed to do anything else. She's like, you're right. She's like, I always knew you were a writer. You could write, but she's like, now you're not allowed to do anything else. She's like, just do this now. Yeah. And then my father said, he's like, you've always done exactly whatever you wanted to do.
That's possible.
So he wasn't surprised. I think by finally, I mean, at some point I had told so many people I was working on this book. I mean, we're talking like 10 years that I think even they were like, oh yeah, sure, you're working on the book. Like, you know what I mean? It was like a painting no one was ever going to see. You know what I mean? Like,
Got it.
At some point you're like, I'm never, is anyone going to read this thing? And then, I think the best thing anyone can do, it's so funny because even my publisher, I was talking to her, and some of her authors, they don't want to do audiobooks. They're not interested. I don't know, but I like to talk clearly. It's so funny. I go on podcasts and sometimes even people have the most fascinating subject matter, like a book or something. They have no personality. They don't like to talk. I actually have to be cut off. I can go on, I mean, I've had podcasts where they said conversation part 1 and part 2 because we just kept going. But about, I think is it 70-30 or 60-40, but about 60% are print or Kindle or whatever, and about 40% are audiobooks. I mean, a lot of people, you listen, on the way to work, you listen to audiobooks. My husband, when he travels, stays awake by listening to audiobooks. And then now I was like, isn't it wonderful you can travel with my voice with you at all times? I know he did purchase it, but I was like, you don't have to listen to it if you don't want to. I feel like he was so involved in this story. I mean, I wrote it. He transcribed, helped me edit. I mean, he's so wonderful. I feel like he's sick of it. And if he's not, he should be. Because I was almost at that level of, I was like, Anthony Schrader, I'll just write like a 3-page story about how I kill you because I'm so sick about talking about you. No, but I was glad when it was done. Like, you're like, oh, it was literally like being being in labor for 24 hours and then having a cesarean. It was like, oh, so glad.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's really good.
Yeah, it was like he's like pushing. And then the doctor goes, well, you've given a great effort, but we're going to slice you open and put your guts on your chest anyway. So you're like, oh, Jesus.
I love it.
It's true. It's true. Like I said, I would rather have been a dancer, singer, act, anything where I could have been told I was shit to my face rather than spending 10 years on something that you send out and you don't really know the feedback, but you have to listen to yourself and your inner voices. Also, you have to have something people sometimes they're like, oh, I have stories. And they mean stories like they have a bunch of series of unfortunate events that have happened to them. And I was like, but what's your arc? You know, I mean, at the end of like 90 Disney's movies, they'd always be like, da, 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 da. You know, I mean, you just like ends with like chills and goosebumps. You know what I mean? I don't know if you saw the recent like Wicked or something, but like they just ended it like that, where you're just like, oh, like multiple orgasm goosebumps. Like you're like, oh my god, like you feel like you've just gone through something that makes you a little wobbly in the knees, and then it sticks with you for 3 days. But a good feeling, not an STD. But yes, no, a good feeling, not an itch, but a good warm feeling inside that you're just like, wow, I do not regret those 2 hours. You have to like most of our experiences, like other people have gone through as well in some form of another. But you have to either raise it to a level, because also like my characters almost talk like dead Shakespearean poets. Like they don't talk like how people would normally talk. They go on these long like soliloquies and like speeches. Like they don't talk like normal people. And I did that on purpose. So you have to either like raise your subject matter and also like make it more philosophical to the point that you're trying to find like the true source of like why human nature does why it does.
Wait, you're a tree.
I know. Can you imagine? Well, my husband one time told me very early on, before we were even married, he said, I was probably after a nervous breakdown or something. He goes, and I felt really bad. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so emotional. Blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, well, you know, I'll never be bored. Yeah, which I thought was such a nice compliment. He's like, well, I was probably acting like a nutcase. And he goes, I'll never be bored. So that, I mean, I guess that's good. I think some people sometimes dip out of relationships. Yeah, some people I think do dip out of relationships or marriages probably because they are bored or tired and they want a new upgrade. They're tired of the prototype. Yeah, that would never happen, I guess.
I was gonna ask that. How long were the writing sessions? How long did you have, like, each session of sitting down?
I mean, God bless the writer who gets up like it's 9 to 5. Like they're up, they get their coffee at 7, they sit down at the computer at 8, and they write until 5. Maybe they take a lunch break. No, it's like either like usually it's like witching hour. Like my writing hours are like 10 p.m. to 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I only sleep for like 4 or 5 hours. And I still am like this.
One thing that I'm noticing while speaking to you is that you are unafraid of being yourself, completely and utterly. You're just doing it. How do you get that courage? Because one of the hardest things for people is to be themselves. They're worried about everything that goes on outside. How do you get that courage?
Pathologically low self-esteem helps. No. No, because. No, it does. No, if you have a very low internal opinion of yourself, then you might as well sell what people see and not how you feel about the inside. Your insides may want to die, but you might as well sell the outside. Because, for example, if I go to a restaurant, I push my husband ahead. I can't go in the restaurant first. Can you believe it? I'm very shy. I know you're like bullshit. I know, but I'm weird. Like if I go into like any place, I push him ahead of me because I can't go in first. But then once I'm sitting down, then I'm definitely acquired taste. And like anisette or cognac. I mean, you either like it or it's gasoline and horse shit. Fermented. With notes of fruit and nuts. Have you ever been to a bourbon tasting? It's absolutely horrid. And they're like, oh, do you taste like the nutty and the butteriness? And I was like, this is gasoline dipped in horseshit. I have no idea what you're talking about. But
what? Never met anyone like.
Yeah, but yeah.
I
So
love it,
I'm
though.
one-on-one. You can't stop me. But yeah, in crowds and stuff, I get really. I'm very. I get lots of anxiety, and I'm very very shy. Sort of.
It's going. This is amazing. I needed this thing. Your energy is out of control.
Well, you picked Saturday, so I was like, well, it's going to be a weekend. Then I guess because usually I'm usually much more hyper Monday through Friday. This is a calm day.
Wait, hyper than now?
Yeah. Have you ever? I was gonna say, have you ever read The Yellow Wallpaper? But that's Sarah Perkins Gilman. She is trapped in the attic by her husband because she's suffering from postpartum, and eventually she sees people in the yellow wallpaper, and then at the end of the book, she's crawling around the floor, scraping the yellow wallpaper. So that's me Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And then, no, I'm kidding.
You're amazing. I really like your energy. I like that you're like being yourself. I really, really do. We need more of that in the world. Now, was this a dream to have this book published? Like, was this something you used to think about that one day?
If I didn't do it, I thought I'd die. Like, I was like, if this thing doesn't, I was like, even if it sells 5 copies, which is like what, like my mother, my husband, and my 3 sisters, I was like, I'll be okay with it. I just want to hold the thing in my hand. That's all I could think about, especially after you've been as fired as many times as I have. Everything kept to be pointing me like, keep going, keep going, keep going, because like, I don't think this should work with others. I don't think I'm meant. I don't think, like, at some point I was like, I don't think I get along with others. I don't think this is meant for the rest of, and I always would do well in sales with like the people. It was always the people I worked with that I would like drive up the fucking right. So yeah, it's like, which also like, not everyone you work with, like, you're going to fall in love with, clearly. But there's a certain amount of, like, a secure person would be like, well, that's clearly him. And other people, they were just like, how do I crush his spirit? How do I kill his soul? Like, they would, like, hire, like, they're like, oh, you have such a big personality. We should hire you. And then you get married. You know what I mean? Like getting hired is like a marriage. You get married, and then there was like a slow downhill to divorce. Like, do you know what I mean? Just like a slow, like they would be like, let's hire this big personality and then slowly crush it into mincemeat. So that's how I felt. That's how I feel about being hired at current American corporate planet.
Have you ever thought about writing for a movie, like a play or something?
Well, I probably have a place somewhere in a desk drawer that I never finished. No, that's not true. I have 2 that I did, and one is not.
Wait, so how many of those do you have? Like, do you have a lot of pieces of work that you...
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my second novel's already done, and I'm finishing the 3rd.
You should be very proud of yourself.
And then I still would like to finish that short story that I wrote from the 7th grade about that girl during the American Revolution. But I had to drop it when I was really involved in the edits for To Never See Heaven. So, yeah. So, yeah, I have like, I guess technically 4 books I'm working on. And then I'm wondering, oh no, and then I started a 5th idea, which is about a woman kills a bunch of her husbands and then finally gets caught. Yeah. So so it's, see, the mind, it's, so see, I have all this, it's really my witching hour at night. I just like, once I'm like alone by myself, then I get all these ideas and I just like, where is it? Right. So like, for example, it's like, here's like one of my journals. And so like I said, I'm an old lady. So I get like these leather bound things. And it's just, I mean, this is that. Yeah, this is like my 3rd book, but this is the 2nd journal.
Wow, so you write
the other one was like this thick.
So you write it on paper and then you transferred it to digital?
Yeah, my husband does.
That's what you were saying, transcribing. Oh, wow. your husband's committed to your writing as well, huh?
Yeah, you find a nice Jewish boy who loves his mother, you'll set for life. That's what I mean, they don't have to be Jewish. I mean, they could be Italian. But you find a nice boy. You find a nice, it just happens. I mean, he went to Hebrew school, but yeah, you find a nice Jewish boy who loves his mother. And I think also, yeah, no, because I also was always a hard worker. So even when I wasn't like, I was like working these like suck jobs, not all of them were like suck, but like, basically just like trying not to kill myself while smiling. And then I would come home and then be writing by hand until 3 o'clock in the morning, like asleep, with the pen in my hand, ink on my face. Did I get all the ink? I was like, oh, I had ink on my fingers.
Was it therapeutic as well for you, like being writing?
I love the tension in the pen. Oh, I think writing by hand. I mean,
Say it again.
I love the tension in the pen. The tension, like if you're in a really good scene, I'm actually left-handed. So if you're in a really good scene, like, your hands will like, you're writing like really good stuff. I mean, if I start writing big and lazy, then I'm like, okay, you're really tired. Go to bed. Like, no, like, because then you're like, But if you're like, or you get a tear that falls on the page and then like runs the ink, you're like, this must be gold. Because sometimes maybe writing at night also helps, because sometimes I look back at something and I don't really remember writing it, because I look at it and I'm like, that's like, even if I didn't write it objectively, I'm like, that's a good freaking line. Like, that's a good, like, I don't remember writing it, but that's a good line. Like, that's like tattooable. Like you would tattoo that. Like, that's a good one. You know what I mean?
So how does it feel that you reached that? Like, if someone's listening, tell them what it feels like, that you had a dream, you worked for it, you battled for it, you fought for it, and you're here. What does that feel like?
It's really good. Like the first one, like, oh, I'm so glad it's here, but I'm always working on the next thing. So yeah, because I mean, there's so many people like, Salinger and, oh God, I forgot it. To Kill a Mockingbird. Like some people, Margaret Mitchell, well, she was hit by a streetcar, but a lot of people, sometimes they only did one thing. And that was the one book. Oh, Harper Lee. Oh, but she did publish one more right before she died, but that's because she was going to die. So, but yeah, but some people only. No, it's true. No, but some people like J.D. Salinger, like they just wrote Catcher in the Rye, and that was it. Well, because I remember she did technically publish one more thing. But yeah, some people are just, they only have one story to tell in them, and then, I mean, I guess if every 8th grader in school is forced to read your thing, then maybe you don't feel the need to. I don't know, but I constantly have another story to tell. It's so good when you see the finished product in your hand, especially after so much time. But now I'm already waiting for the next thing. Like, I can't wait for my other friend to paint the next cover.
That's a very good lesson.
So I'm always you can't be done. No, I don't think most people are like writers can't be done. Like I said, there's some amazing books, and they only want to write one, and that's fine for them. I can't. So
before we go, what can a readers expect to get out of your book when they pick it up?
Oh, a lot of introspective work being done on a person who's trying to find the path from, trauma to redemption, and also a little bit of philosophy, a lot of swear words, a little bit of drug usage, and love and a lot of hope at the end. I love the ending more than anything. I actually almost want to cry. I think I love the last half of the book more than the beginning, because in the beginning it's like he's so tortured and for good reason, but the ending they're so in love. They're so in love, and there's so much hope in that. And I think the world could use a little bit of love right now. So it's nice that I was able to do that. Friends, and even like, you write, I'll check like reviews on Amazon, and some of these people I don't even know, and it's like, oh, like I touched that person, or like, they sometimes young people, if you do a talk or a lecture, they ask you a question about your book, you're like, oh, I never would have thought that about the character, But it's so interesting that you thought that. It's definitely the thought provoking and the idea of hope, I think, would be my greatest hope and aspiration for it.
So that's what you like about it. You're touching people's hearts and minds and
yeah, because I think there's so many people who never get to reconcile what happens to them when they're young, and the fact that he's
you've said
able
trauma.
to,
You've said trauma a few times.
yeah.
That's something you want to talk about.
Yeah.
We're running out of time, but is this something you want to include?
I probably always like the idea of exploring it. I wouldn't say like me personally, but I would say like I've witnessed like generational trauma where like that person in like my family like never recovered from what happened to them as a younger person, and then struggled, not necessarily in the 20s, but bottomed out in the 40s and 50s. So because it all caught up with them, especially if it's from like a parent or a relative, uncle, whatever, and they die. Well, now there's no one to yell at. Who are you going to scream at? The ghost? No. Yeah. So now there's no one to yell at. So what are you going to do? And then usually that person self-destructs. That's always why, well, not always why, but when I like exploring those types of themes, because I think they're so universal to people and they speak to people on different types of levels. And it definitely gets to the point of reconcile it as soon as you can. And it's not going to happen in a day, but try to come to peace with whatever before there's nothing to scream at but a ghost.
Yeah, because it's never going to go away. It's always going to be there.
No. Until it's a memory, and it'll pop up once in a while. But at least it'll be in like the periphery, and like, as further away in the rearview mirror as possible.
Healing. You're saying heal from it. Don't let it, or not it's going to haunt you. And so what would you say to someone if they went through trauma and they're thinking about going on this healing journey? What would be the first step in your mind for them to do? I know it's different for everybody, but if you had to say in someone's healing journey.
Well, for me, it was writing. But then also I would say talking is also really good, even if it's like just your best friend who's also going to tell you when you're being a shit. You know what I mean? I mean, if you can afford a therapist, that's awesome. But also having a very cutting and honest friend is some of the best medicine. I always like to say, like, a lot of my friends, I was like, you're all so smart and we're all so messed up. But they've all seemed to come through the other side of their stuff. And so it's probably why we all found each other. We're all a bunch of misfits. And we're sort of like, I was like, I mean, sometimes I laugh. I was like, oh my God, all my friends have some version of mental illness or something. But they probably do. But then they've all seemed to come out of the other side of adulthood and been able to find, probably because also humor that really, you've got to have a sense of humor, because some bad stuff happens to everybody and you've got to be able to laugh about it. I mean, we've had a lot of laughs on this podcast. I mean, clearly I'm suffering from something. I find clearly I need medication, but I find humor in that. That is hilarious. Of course you do. Of course you need medication. Yes, absolutely. No, but you have to have a sense of humor. No, it doesn't matter what it is. You have to. That is probably the best medicine, honestly.
Look, you've given
whatever.
You're very insightful. Like, you gave 3 good things. You said humor, support, right, which is the friend, and find something you're passionate about. That's really good for healing from trauma. That was good. That was really good.
Yeah, that was a really good recap too. What a good recap. You're very good at recapping. It's like you've done this before. Such a good recapper. No, you reminded me what I said, so that's excellent. No, that's good. I'm glad you could. I was like, did I say all that? Okay.
I think that was like
I'm not going to question it. Yeah, I was like, I'm glad he said it because I don't remember. No, I'm kidding.
So how do people get your book? And let's give some information out. Like, what do they do to get more?
Well, To Never See Heaven on Amazon, on Kindle, and most bookstores near you. Also, my book is on audiobook. It's on Audible. It's on Apple Books, Spotify, Google Play, Chirp, other things that I don't even know existed until my publisher told me they're on them. Yes, if you want to hear this voice in your car, the audiobook is available. Otherwise, you can cuddle up with the hard or paperback by putting it in your Amazon cart or going to your local bookstore.
Speaking as well, right? That's another market that you're.
I do all the voices, including the ones that are inside my head. Yes, I do all the multiple personalities of the characters.
But I see you see guest speaking. That's a market you in your. I was looking at your website. You have guest speaking. Is that something?
Oh yeah. No, I like to talk, and people like to. People like to see me. Me and all 23 of my personalities come out on stage, so that's good. Yeah, people pay to see that. Yeah, it's like paying Sybil to do cartwheels. If you've ever seen that movie. Anyway, good movie, actually. I love Sally Field. But yeah, no, so I am interested in, I love doing guest speaking. I love talking. I've talked at my local university and like local libraries and stuff like that. I was in Indiana and Reno, and that was, I like going to different parts of America because there's places that I've gone like, oh, I didn't realize I had a following here. Okay, it's wonderful.
But isn't that great? Look at what you've done. Look at what you've created. Are you proud of yourself?
I know, just like a little bit of buzz, but it's fine. It's like literally, I just like want to be able to like travel with my husband. Like I just like being like comfortable and being able to get home and just write is like my favorite thing in the world.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm glad I got to meet you today. You have a wonderful energy. I love the way you speak, and I love your story. I love your passion for what you're doing. It's beautiful to see. Continue to do what you're doing. Don't stop and keep fighting. Thank you.
No, this is one of the best Saturdays I've ever had. Usually, like I said, I'm actually boring. So this is wonderful. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
The doctor was in the house.
Well, thank you for joining me, and keep doing what you're doing. Have a great day, okay?
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Read after me.